The restaurant lights glowed golden that night, casting warmth on every table where people laughed, clinked glasses, and toasted to love. But in the far corner, one man sat alone, clutching a small bouquet of flowers with trembling hands. His shirt was pressed, though it was old. His shoes were polished, though they were worn. His heart, however, was breaking. Around him a group of young professionals laughed quietly, hiding their smirks behind wine glasses. To them this was a game. To him, it was hope. He was the janitor. And tonight, he had been set up on a blind date. A date that was never real. A date that was meant to humiliate him. But just as the laughter grew louder, the door opened. And when the CEO of the very company he worked for walked in and spoke, silence filled the room. Part 1. Daniel's world. Daniel had never planned to be a janitor. He had never dreamed of mopping floors or scrubbing toilets at midnight while others chased success. In his 20s, he had been different. A dreamer with sketchbooks full of blueprints, designing bridges and tall buildings he wished to one day create. But life, as it often does, had other plans. He had married young, to a woman named Claire, who carried the kind of laughter that could light up the darkest of rooms. Together, they had a daughter, Lily. For a time it felt like happiness was possible. But when Claire fell ill, Daniel spent every dollar he had on her treatment. He sold his tools, his car, even the small land he had inherited from his father. And when the money was gone, all that remained was debt and eventually grief. Claire passed away, leaving Daniel and Lily alone. At 48, with no degree, no connections, and the weight of a teenage daughter depending on him, Daniel took the job no one else wanted, the janitor's job. Too sharp. Part 2. Life at the office of the corporate building was a world of glass walls, expensive suits, and whispered gossip. To the employees, Daniel was invisible. He came early, left late, and spent hours unseen, cleaning meeting rooms, fixing jam printers, and hauling out bags of trash. But Lily never saw him as just a janitor. To her, he was the strongest man alive. She would often say, "Dad, you might clean floors, but to me, you're building the foundation of our lives." Still, Daniel couldn't help but notice the way others treated him. Some ignored him. Some mocked him under their breath. And some, like Sarah, a young, ambitious employee, openly disrespected him. "Careful," she once sneered as he mopped near her desk. "Don't splash dirty water on my shoes." Daniel only smiled faintly. "Sorry, miss. I'll be careful." Part 3. The cruel plan. One Friday evening, in the break room, a group of employees gathered around laughing. Sarah leaned forward, her voice dripping with mischief. "You know what would be hilarious? Setting Daniel up on a blind date." The others burst out laughing. "What? With who? Who'd even go out with him?" Another mock. "We'll make a fake profile," Sarah suggested, scrolling on her phone. "Send him some sweet messages, make him think someone's actually interested. And then," she smirked, "we'll invite him to a fancy restaurant. Imagine the look on his face when he realizes no one's coming." The group agreed, laughing at the cruelty of it all. To them, it was harmless fun. To Daniel, it would be heartbreak. That night, Daniel received a message from a woman named Anna. She claimed she admired his honesty, his humility, and wanted to meet him. At first, he thought it was a mistake. But after days of exchanging kind words, Daniel began to believe again. Maybe, just maybe, life was giving him a second chance. Part 4. The hope of love. When Lily noticed her father smiling at his phone, she asked curiously, "Who are you talking to, Dad?" Daniel hesitated, then confessed, "Just someone. She wants to meet me." Lily's face lit up. "Dad, that's amazing. You deserve this. You deserve happiness." Encouraged by her, Daniel decided to go. He withdrew money he could barely spare, bought a second-hand shirt, and even polished his old shoes. For the first time in years, he looked in the mirror and saw not just a janitor, but a man. A man who still had something to give. Part 5. The night of the date. The restaurant was upscale, crystal chandeliers, waiters in tuxedos, couples in elegant clothes. Daniel felt out of place, but he reminded himself of Lily's words. He sat at the table holding flowers, his eyes scanning every woman who walked in. Minutes passed. Then an hour. His water glass sat untouched. And at a corner booth, the group of employees who had orchestrated the prank watched, stifling their laughter. They whispered, recorded videos on their phones, and waited for the moment he would realize. Finally, one of them walked over. "Oh wow, Daniel, are you on a date?" The young man said, smirking. Daniel's cheeks turned red. "Yes, I am supposed to meet someone. From the corner, laughter erupted, heads turned, murmurs spread. Daniel's heart sank as reality struck him. He had been fooled. Part 6. The CEO appears just as Daniel lowered his head, preparing to leave in shame. The heavy doors of the restaurant swung open. A tall man in a sharp suit walked in. Mr. Anderson, the CEO. The employees froze. Everyone in the office knew him. He spotted Daniel instantly, sitting with flowers surrounded by laughter. His expression darkened. Mr. Anderson strode over, his voice steady but commanding. "Daniel, good evening. May I join you?" Daniel looked up, startled. "Sir, of course, but no buts," the CEO said, sitting down across from him. "You've always been one of the hardest working men in my company. It would be an honor to share a meal with you." The restaurant went silent. The employees' laughter died instantly. Mr. Anderson turned to them, his gaze piercing. "A man's worth is not measured by the title he carries or the uniform he wears. Daniel has more dignity in his work than anyone who would mock another man's pain. And let me make this clear, anyone who thinks otherwise has no place in my company." The employees' faces turned pale. Funds slipped back into pockets. The shame was unbearable. Part 7. The aftermath. The next morning, the office buzzed with whispers. Everyone knew what had happened. The employees who played the cruel prank were disciplined and made to publicly apologize. Daniel, once invisible, now walked through the halls with newfound respect. People greeted him with smiles, held doors open, and even thanked him for his work. But none of that mattered to him as much as Lily's pride. That evening, she hugged him tightly. "Dad, I always knew you were special. Now they all know it too." Daniel's eyes welled with tears. He realized that dignity was not something others could give or take away. It had always been his. Closing, powerful message. And so, what began as a cruel prank turned into a powerful reminder. Never measure someone by their job, their clothes, or their bank account. True worth lies in kindness, perseverance, and integrity. Daniel was never just a janitor. He was a father, a man of honor, and proof that dignity cannot be mocked, only revealed. Call to action. If this story touched your heart, share your thoughts in the comments. How did you feel when the CEO defended Daniel? And don't forget, subscribe to my channel. Be kind always. For more powerful stories that remind us of the strength in kindness and the beauty of compassion. Because in a world where you can be anything, always choose to be kind.